Hi everyone, welcome to a DMT trip report video. This is about my trip. It was around 200 to 250 milligrams of DMT that I took by accident, and I'll explain throughout the story how I got there, how deep this trip actually was, and what actually happened after it. Now the interesting one with this trip is about 3 months after the actual trip, I had a random download into my brain and my consciousness of like knowledge on sacred geometry and like stuff that has not been revealed before, and I will be making videos on what was given to me from the DMT trip. Now I'll get started from here. Now I was never a psychedelic type of person. Like, weed is as far as I go. That's just it. I don't mess around with nothing else. Now, my background, I live in England, I'm a Muslim. I also follow like a Sufi path, which is spiritual Islam, and I have always been open to all other paths of truth, and I've always studied other religions, other faiths, listened to plenty of other gurus around the world. When it's regarding the inner journey, truth is truth and it resonates with you. Anyway, now, using a drug for spiritual experience for me was just laughable. I'd never do such a thing. So when it did come across to me, I was like, what the hell is this crap? And we end up where we are now. Back in 2005, I had a natural DMT release. Had a vision. It was during a non-meditative Islamic chant, and after vaping DMT, realize the identical bits of experience. Obviously now DMT is, say, times it by 1,000,000 with the visuals and everything else, but how you feel in your body, your separation, the ego death, all that type of stuff is exactly the same. Now during my spiritual journey, I always delve deep into some different knowledges, learn more and more, and every now and then you get slapped with some amazing new knowledge that just literally wipes and erases your previous idea of reality. Now, last Christmas, I had hit one of these points where I was humbled by a nice spiritual experience and some knowledge, and I sat there with tears in my eyes, and I asked the one supreme creator, the one universal consciousness, to grant me experience, whatever way it came, just to grant me actual spiritual experience, like proper, not like the little vision I had back in the day, like a proper experience in accordance with what all these mystics are talking about. So I sat there, asked earnestly for a real deep experience, and then I just left it for the universe to do what it needs to do. Now, within the next 3 months, DMT just kept popping up on my radar. Now, I work at home, so I sit there while I'm doing work. YouTube is playing in the background. I usually play like loads of different styles of videos, mainly all spiritual based, conscious based, quantum physics, science, documentaries, religious history, comparative religion, whatever it is. I always have that stuff playing in the background. Now, while I sit there for hours each day, what keeps popping up is little bits about DMT. Something from DMT here, something on DMT there, something on DMT here. Joe Rogan, that bastard, keeps coming up here. There. Graham Hancock here. Everybody. So I was thinking, what is this crap, man? What are you talking about? You take something and you have a spiritual experience. Like, to me, it made no sense. It's like, oh, that's basically like cutting all the work that someone has to do. But anyway, so after a couple of months of delving deep into it, watching every single video, Terence McKenna, all of that stuff, every Joe Rogan video, every Terence McKenna video, every single video that anybody's done on a trip report. Then I went onto Nexus Forum, and then I started to go real deep into there and start reading everyone's trip reports, all the pros and cons and everything. Now I found more pros than any cons. The cons were usually, oh, I had a bad trip, and then later on in that same paragraph is, oh yeah, but I realized it was so amazing because it taught me this and it taught me that and it taught me this. So there were no negativities according to what I had seen. So learning all that solidified for me. So I thought, you know what, I've got nothing to lose to try something that people are speaking big bollocks about. So okay, so went online again, learned how to make it, bought all the stuff to make it, made my first batch. Now, while I was learning how to make everything, I learned, okay, the pure white crystal is the pure best stuff to have. Then the stuff that's just kind of amber or brown has got alkaloids in it, and it's got a different experience, and it's not as powerful. And then people say that the gunk waxy stuff that looks like shatter is just crap. Now, on my first pull, I had all three of them. So yeah, obviously from reading all the forums, I ended up thinking, okay, let me get rid of the crap first. So I got rid of the gunk. So looked online I didn't have any scales, so I looked online on what a dose looks like. So someone was measuring like a 50 milligram dose, so I matched that size to the size of the gunk. Now, being silly and rushing into it, completely forgetting that a viscous liquid is obviously denser and therefore heavier than a pure white fluff powder. So yeah, instead of it being around 50 milligrams, it turned out to be around 250 milligrams when a much later time I compared the same amount on scales. So yeah, let's get started on the trip. So now, I was sitting in my living room about 2 a.m. All the lights were off, so it's pitch black dark, as I'd read, obviously. Lights on can be disturbing, any noise in the background can be disturbing, so all that lock off. So now I take the first rip, take it in, hold it in 15 seconds, things started to change, start to feel a little bit fuzzy, let it out, take the second rip in, and things start to get all orange tinty, and it starts super shaking. Everything is super shaking. I don't even know how I was holding the pipe. Anyway, exhaled, took the third one in. On the third one, everything started to go absolutely mental. Held it in 15 seconds, put the pipe down, laid back on the beanbag that I was sitting on, and exhaled. Now, once I exhaled, everything started to go completely dark. It was absolute darkness. Now, I'm laying down. I have a separation of body, so I feel like I'm distant from the body, although it's there, but I have zero control over my body. I got no chance of moving anything. I know it's there, but I can't move it. Now I start to feel this bliss and ecstasy feeling around, and it was just pure darkness. Yeah. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, I start to feel a rush, like I'm going through warp speed. Normally people go through like this warp speed through the colorful patterns and all that. No, it was just pure starless galaxy darkness speeding through warp speed. At the same time, I started to feel that I needed to take a piss. I'm laying there, can't move. I need to take a piss. What's going on? Nah, my bladder just lets go. I start to let go, and all the warm wetness starts to flow all over my groin area. I've pissed my pants. I'm thinking, oh my god, what the hell? My wife is gonna go crazy. I've pissed my pants. I've pissed all over the beanbag. I'm screwed, and I can't do anything because I'm in it. And I thought, you know what? Screw it. It is what it is. I can't move. I can't do anything. Let me just concentrate on what's happening. So back to the moment I was in, and once I let that pissing thing go, it just felt beautiful and ecstatic, and then straight through that starless void. Can't remember this reality at all. Completely, all memories, everything fades away, and you're back at just being your consciousness. Now, once I hit that point, I passed through a certain zone. I don't know nothing about it, can't remember nothing. All I know is bliss and joy. Then I come into this open, infinitely massive, open, black, dark area. Now, when I'm coming into this place, because everything's been dark, and when I come to a point where I can actually see something, it's pretty much like when you just open your eyes for the first time. Everything's blurry or whatnot. So I start to see this wall. It wasn't an extended wall, it was just a wall, say the width of a house. Just a wall and a flat platform, same size. So it's like an L-shaped wall. The floor and the wall that comes in this background. Now on the floor bit, there was a cylinder. There was another rectangular wall slice on the inside, sitting on top, and also like a cheese slice of a quarter amp. So, and all of these had one pattern on there. It was a square pattern that kept repeating like a block pattern. like a checkered pattern, but each of the squares had the 4 or 5 of the primary, like 4 primary colors, 3 primary colors, whatever it is, in each square: red, green, blue, whatever it is that's there. It looked like the old TV screens back in the day when the TV channels were off. So that was there. Now, when I came to this space, my consciousness, number one, could not believe what it was seeing. The space that it was in wasn't 3D. It could be 4D, 5D, 6D, whatever it is. It was a different dimensional space, so it had a completely different feel to it, and how it looked and everything. Then the colors are indescribable. The colors are not comparable to anything within our universe. They had a whole different vibe about it. It's like, imagine you're blind and I'm actually describing the color green to you. There's no way to describe those colors. Anyway, so I'm sitting there in absolute awe. Like, the only thing I remember is me doing this. Like in pure wow. Yeah. So I'm sitting there absolute astonished. Now, I don't know how long each time, at the time, I didn't know how long I sat there staring at this. Now, to give an exact thing, because I kind of remember bits after. So what? All these patterns were moving. Now, they weren't moving fast. They weren't even moving slowly. They were moving incredibly slow, and in a parallel and vertical motion. And it's over a very long period of time that I'd noticed one square go up and kind of move up into the same space of the square that was above it. That took a very long time. Now, as I'm sitting there in absolute awe for God knows how long at this wall, I decide to, at one point, pay attention. Terence McKenna always used to say, pay attention, stop being in awe all the time because you miss everything. Now, when I started to pay attention, I was like, what am I looking at? Other than everything I'm looking at is impossible, what exactly am I looking at? So I start to concentrate on one of these square patterns. I'm looking at the square patterns, and it starts to transition, and the colors start to fade into each other and start to create a shape. And the shape started to look like a face, and I'm like, oh my God, there's a face in that thing. So it's like, okay. Then the transition further, and it became into a face I recognized. The face was mine. So I start to see my face in that square. Then I saw my face in every other square on the entire wall, floor, and all the objects. So as I concentrated on that and paid attention, I started to realize that that wall is actually me, the entirety of me, the entirety of myself, my name, my likes, dislikes, my ego, everything that I've lived in life, all of it, me, my deeds, my misdeeds, whatever it is, that was me as a whole. Now, in mystical understandings, this was understood to me, and I got the straight intuition and truth of realization. When I was at that point, it was like, I know what this is. This is the final wall of the self, the final veil of the self. In mystical spiritual teachings, you remove layers and layers of yourself before you reach that last one, and once you peel away that last one, you're fully engulfed in the pure oneness of the supreme consciousness and in the oneness of God. So me realizing what was right in front of me, I thought, yep, I want to blast straight through the self, leave myself, so the only thing that's left and remains is the source. So I tried to do that. Now, as I made the intention and I zoomed straight through to break through that wall, it was like the entire universe being squeezed into a quantum size hole. A tiny, tiny little thing. Now, there was no pain involved, but the claustrophobia, and it's twisting and cracking while trying to squeeze into this hole, and experiencing it was a completely different phenomenon. It was ineffable. I can't describe it. Now, the feeling also, for some reason, I had the recollection that it was happening within my pineal gland. It was like popping and cracking away, and that's the actual sound I was hearing when it was happening, and it was in my pineal gland area. Now, anyway, as I'm trying to zoom through to come up to the other side to meet God, bam, I get slapped the F out of the entire entire trip, and I'm back up in my room. I sit up from my beanbag. I'm like, what is going on? I'm looking around now. I can't remember I took DMT. I can't remember what the hell just happened. I can't remember where I just came from. I can't remember what I was seeing. I'm just looking around in my room thinking, what the F just happened? What's going on? I'm looking around. Everything is super fractally. Everything looks like it's made out of diamonds. If you remember Emma Frost from the X-Men First Class, the one that changes into like diamond crystal form, yeah, my fingers look like that, my hands look like that. The entire room, remember, it was pitch black dark, but I could see as if lights were on, like daylight. But it was everything. The tiled floor, each tile was pretty much like a chessboard. It's literally phasing between white and black. Each tiles are phasing between white and black. The walls are phasing between white and black. Everything phasing between white and black. Now, as I said, my fingers, everything looked like fractal diamonds. It was beyond belief. I was mesmerized. And then, bam, I get fall straight back to the beanbag. And again, when I go on the second time, memory gets ripped out again. I don't remember even that I got up. I don't remember where I was before that, nothing. So it takes me through the exact same scenario that happened the first time. So I go through the starless void. And then I end up at this black, incredibly massive room. And then I notice the wall with the shapes. I look at the shapes and everything in absolute awe for a very, very long time. Now, when I started looking at the wall again, same thing. I'm staring in awe. Then I start to pay attention. Once I pay attention, I notice a face. The face turns into my face. I start to realize, and I know instinctively, that this wall is the final veil of the self, and for me to break through. That's why I'm here, to break through. So I start to do the same thing again, squeezing through the atom size hole, and then bam, I get pushed straight back out into my living room. Now I'm looking around again. Zero recollection of what just happened. Zero recollection that I even took DMT. So I'm up and I'm looking. I'm like, what is going on? This is just unreal. I'm looking at my fingers again. Sausage fingers look like fractal made out of diamonds. Everything is beautifully shaped. Everything is perfect. Everything is in unison. Everything is breathing life and is conscious. And then bam, I get taken again. I got dropped back down on the beanbag. And then through the starless void into the massive black room, see the wall, look at the wall, stare in absolute astonishment for how many months or whatever it is. And I look and I start to pay attention, see the face, realize I have to break through. I try to pass through the wall into the oneness, and then I get kicked back out again. Now, third time I got kicked back out, this is when the DMT started to fade. So I'd say it's about been 10 minutes. So I come back out, I'm like, oh my god, I'm looping. Now, none of the fractal stuff is there anymore. So it's just a different, more hazy, super HD vision that's going on. So I'm looking around, I'm like, what the hell? Hand on my head, I'm like, I've been looping, what the hell's going on? So I start to panic. I think, how many times is this going to happen to me? Is this going to be forever? So anyway, I started to panic, and then while that's happening, memories start to set in of what's going on. I took DMT, okay, cool, and then, oh yeah, I pissed my pants. So I'm like, I got up, I'm like, let me just go to the toilet, quickly wash myself or whatever, and I started to waddle over to the toilet, sat down on the toilet for about a minute, with my hands around my head, thinking what was going on, because obviously the effect of the trip was so much. I was still thinking about that wall. I'd completely forgotten why I'd even gone to the toilet to actually clean myself or whatever it is, but I sat on the toilet anyway. Now I sat down, and then I was like, oh yeah, I pissed my pants. So I'm checking my tracksuit bottoms and my underwear, and they're just completely dry. And I was like, oh, so I didn't piss my pants. Like, I wonder what that was. Now later on, the second trip I had the exact same experience of the urinating thing, and I realized at that time it wasn't urinating. It was more something like the root chakra burst opening, and it was just pure ecstasy and bliss person forth from that, and it literally feels like a wet liquid spreading through like an elixir. Now, but other people I've read have had in different places, be it on the forehead, the throat chakra, heart chakra, and they feel that exact wetness and bliss spreading around. Now anyway, I was sitting on the toilet, and here's another weird part is you come back out, like if you've ever had the light dose, where you don't go fully in and you have like an open eye experience, you realize one thing. Now even when you come back off the trip, you also realize something, that if you imagine your normal vision is 720p resolution, like on TVs, a bit old now, 720p. Imagine the resolution of your vision now is 8K super wide field view. This is scientifically impossible. Your eyes can't see more than the resolution that they can see with, which is around 120 or 150 megapixels of resolution is what I can see. Now imagine that just got times to 400 megapixels of resolution. How the hell is that possible? It's not possible. So while I was sitting on the toilet, I was looking at pound coin, and I know how silly it was. I was like, why am I looking at pound coin? This is pathetic. But the fact I'm looking at pound coin is because the amount of detail that was in it. I was looking at the most minute detail, like I've got a zoom lens in my eyes with super HD, HDR, everything, whatever it is, and it's just absolutely crazy. Now this got done, I was like, okay, this was beyond amazing, and I decided to go to sleep. Now I went to sleep. The dream I had that night was purely at that wall. The moment I woke up, I realized that I was at that wall dreaming about it. Then throughout that whole day and the next 7 days after, the wall was just on my mind. Now for the month and a half after this trip, I had pure mental clarity. There was like zero bullshit in my brain. Yeah, all the normal chatter, all the silliness that you'd have in your brain, what people who do meditation really wish and aim they had on a 24/7 basis, had that for a month and a half. It was just pure zen and bliss and calmness in my mind, body and soul. Now after that trip, well, I decided to tell all my friends. Everyone's on it, everyone's having positive results, etc. Now while they were doing their trips, everyone was like, when are you going to do yours, when are you going to do it? And I didn't want to do it. I did one and I didn't want to, I just didn't feel it. I didn't feel to do it. I didn't feel it after it. Even though it was a nice, wonderful experience, there was something telling me that I don't need to do another trip up until I figure out the message that came from the first one. Because that one was so deep, so profound, there was something that was getting given with it. So I decided to leave it and just wait for that to transpire. Now 3 months after the trip is when it initially happened. Now, like I used to say, I always used to look at different things and knowledges and information, and I did have a question several months back regarding the seed of life. I was looking at flower of life, seed of life, and all that type of business. I saw it, I was like, yep, that sacred geometry stuff is absolute truth. It is truth, you can't play with it. And I was like, okay, it's interesting. I wonder how it relates to Islam. And I did some research. There's zero in Islam regarding it. Nothing. Yeah. I did find one saint, like a guru, who one of his bowls that he used to eat from, he had the flower of life pattern on there. But anyway, let's leave that aside. So I was sitting outside next to my house in a green field, smoking my weed. Sometimes I use it for a little bit of meditation. So I was sitting there and I was going through a book that I was reading, and I come across this one line, and after I read this one line, just craziness happened. It's as if, imagine Neo when he sat on the chair and they plugged him in to download martial arts. If you look at him, what was going on? So they plug him in, his brain just kind of goes, whoa, what's going on here? Bam, download of information. Your brain is like, okay, what's this? So much information, and then you also kind of visually seeing what's being downloaded. So as I was getting information regarding the seed of life and its relationship and how Islam emerges from the concept of the seed of life, the Genesis pattern, how it emerges, and every level and every part of Islam can be explained from just those 7 circles that come out from the one singularity point in the seed of life. So all that came, and I was visually seeing it, and I was sitting there, I was like, what is going on? Now I wasn't meditating, I wasn't doing anything special, I was just sitting there, just reading, and this just all got dumped in my brain, and it was just absolutely just beyond profound. So I sat there, I was like, what the hell just happened? This is just amazingly impossible. And the information that got downloaded was like a pure eureka moment as well. So I was like, this has never been seen before. This is just absolutely beautiful. Yeah. So I went home and I had this feeling, you need to put pen to paper. You need to put all this down into a notebook. So I sat there from about 8 o'clock in the evening till about 2 a.m. 5 hours basically, and I come up with about 15 pages of notes regarding how Islam comes out forth from the seed of life, from the singularity point. And I will be doing some videos to cover that exact thing. I know it's going to take some time to sort out, so give me some time. In the meantime, please do like and subscribe, and I will be posting up a video soon regarding the after effect of a 250 milligram trip. Thank you everyone for listening. Peace out, and I hope to see you soon.